Well, good morning, everyone. My name is Jerry Hatch. I drag race as a hobby, and I use my hobby as a tool to put on the demonstrations that we do in the schools around the Washington and Hancock County area. Now, the race car is just exactly that. It's a tool we use to get the kids' attention. We start off in the classroom with about a 10 or 15 minute videotape to introduce drag racing to the students. And we describe what we do to prepare the cars for the race, a couple of things to get the track ready for a race.
Sweet.
Who can tell me what the parachute might be for?
Sweet.
On occasion, but not very often.
What was that question?
Sometimes when they get out of control.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, when you compare drag racing to other types of motorsport, it's probably the safest motorsport out there. Very few crashes. Yes.
How do they put the jet engines in the cars and trucks?
Well, actually, they build a two-frame chassis around the motor. They're fairly lightweight, most of them are chrome moly, and they put a fiberglass body over the top of them. Yeah.
What would happen if the driver made like a mistake, like accidentally like turn the steering wheel like off like at least like a fourth or something?
He'd probably be in a world of hurt. Be my guess. Yes. And you know, we kind of make comparisons as to what drug and alcohol abuse how they may affect a driver, you know, under competition situations. Yeah.
Does many people get hurt in the races?
Very few. Like I said earlier, drag racing is probably the most, you know, the safest motorsport in distance when it comes to crashes. People get hurt. Yes.
What do you like about drag racing?
What do I like about drag racing?
Yeah.
It's just plain exciting.
It's fast.
To me, it's the feeling of acceleration. We've been doing this program this makes 20 years actually. And how I got started was a good friend of mine, Sidney Hughes, back in '87, became the first dare officer for Washington County. And when he was trying to put his curriculum together, he was asking questions about, he asked me if I had some ideas on what he might be able to do in the classroom. So we was sitting there talking, and kind of all of a sudden, right out of nowhere, we just looked at each other and said, race car. So we thought it was a great idea. You know, we took the car into the classroom. Of course, back then the program wasn't as advanced as it is now. We didn't have the equipment that we do now and so forth. But still, we started out with the same idea, you know, drug and alcohol abuse, how it may affect a driver, and how it may them them in whatever career choice they made. Let's say we was all down to Winport one morning, and I made 3 time trials. My average ET, these ETs stand for lap time. There's a 3-second difference there, right?
Yep, right.
What will happen is, when Desiree and I run each other in competition, I'll put an 8-second dial on my window, she'll put a 5-second dial on her window. And when we get up near the starting line, the people up in the timing tower will punch these numbers into the computer. Now when they do that, when her and I put our cars right on the starting line, they'll activate the Christmas tree inside the tower, and me being the slower car, I'll get a 3-second head start. Now over time, Mr. Hughes sort of retired from the dare officer, being the dare officer, and Rodney Merritt stepped in to take his place. Now Rodney and I have been doing this program for probably, I'm going to say, over 10 years. And unfortunately, you know, because of budget restrictions, the DARE program was actually dropped from the Sheriff Department. But the Sheriff Department still allows me to sort of commandeer Mr. Merritt, you know, and they allow him to come with me 2 or 3 weeks out of the year to continue putting this program on for the students.
Home plate. And we had her race a kindergartner. How bad would Lauren beat the kindergartner?
Pretty bad. Probably about 20 seconds.
Really, really bad. Yeah. But now if we did the same race, but we let the kindergartner run all the way to the gravel in the infield, well, she could start. Would be a lot closer, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
That's the same thing. You're allowing the slower person.
In the classroom, when we're making the presentations, we, like I say, we work drug and alcohol abuse into how it may affect people and how it may affect their careers and their, you know, whatever profession they choose to follow. Now, the general reaction from the kids of this program has been absolutely outstanding, actually. I mean, the level of excitement is tremendous.
All right. And once they got there, they said, well, we've got to figure out who's the best. So we're going to start having elimination. So you play one other player. If you win, you stay. If you lose, you go home. I'll tell you what, the effects, the things that we put into our body, that it has on our body is incredible. And how sensitive our body to what we put in it is incredible. We learned this lesson, a few years back. It was about 4 years ago. I had a minor operation. Nothing major, nothing that was life-threatening or anything like that. But during the time I had this operation, the doctor told me that I should take a little better care of myself. You know, maybe eat a little better balanced diet, lose a few pounds, no great amount of weight, exercise a little more. Well, typically Mr. Hatch and I, we're in the classrooms. We see each other in the fall and the spring when you guys are in school. And we don't see each other in the summer because Mr. Hatch is racing and I'm involved in law enforcement. So we don't get to see each other as much as we'd like. Well, during the summer was the time when I had this operation. Well, I took and started taking better care of myself. I started eating oatmeal in the morning, a little bit better balanced diet, eating the right amount of vegetables. Come fall, we went to our first class. Well, we set up the equipment like we did today, and we were in a little bit of a hurry today, but normally we have to test the equipment, don't we, Mr. Hatch?
He calls it testing, I call it playing.
So we were playing with the equipment is what we were doing. Well, Mr. Hatch knew precisely how fast I was, my reaction time, because this machine here measures reaction time. Well, remember, during that summer I had the operation and I started to take better care of myself. And he wasn't aware of it. Well, and I hadn't thought about it because it wasn't anything major. Well, the first time I pressed the button, Mr. Hatch stopped and kind of gave me a funny look. Says, that was pretty good.
I thought he'd get lucky.
Yeah, he thought I got lucky. Well, the second time, he goes, hang on here, what are you doing? Well, we tried it a third time and he stopped altogether. He says, now we've got to talk. There's something going on. You're a year older. You shouldn't be any faster because we've been doing this for years, and he knew just almost exactly how fast I was. So we started discussing it. Well, I said, well, during the summer, and I explained the operation and the fact that I was eating more of a balanced diet. Well, that in itself changed how fast, enough so Mr. Hatch instantly recognized that fact. So if something like changing your diet can change your reaction time and how quick you are, can you imagine what putting something like drugs into your system would do?
When we pit the kids against each other in the competition, we have some equipment in the classroom that measures the students' reaction time. We have a device called a Christmas tree, which is the device that actually starts a drag race. But we have a console with a couple of steering wheels on it.
But how many of you at like Thanksgiving have eaten a great big meal with your family, and then afterwards you feel like, oh, I want to just lay on the couch and relax. Well, that's not what I feel like, but that's what that is. Your body trying to process all of that food, eating too much food. So again, we're showing that a balanced diet, eating properly, and taking care of your body is affecting you. And right there, we learned a lesson and said, well, how much sleep did you get the night before? Did you eat breakfast? What kind of grades do you get? How much do you study? Do you play video games? Do you use drugs? Do you use alcohol? And all these things. Well, the things that we expected when she started tabulating the figures, the ones that were fastest, the ones that were slowest, little things we figured were true. If you didn't get a good night's sleep, you were slower. If you didn't eat a good breakfast, you were a little bit slower. All the things that we had already known were true. But she added a few more columns in there that we didn't really understand. One of the things that she was tabulating before she got ready to present this in her science class was she was figuring the figures up, and she came to me, and it was late in the evening. She goes, "Dad, look what's happened. The people that studied and got the best grades ended up being faster." And we're like, why is this? If you wanted to be an Olympic sprinter, you know, a runner, what would you have to do? Run. Okay, to make your brain faster and better, the more you use it, the faster it's going to become, the more efficient it's going to be. Well, anytime when you're talking about reaction time, remember Mr. Hatch's analogy of driving and thinking quickly, or in this case, being able to take off quickly and control your car, that's your brain being efficient, right? So if your brain's really, if you use it all the time, it's more efficient. So it was really, really a surprise to us that the ones that studied more were faster. Isn't that kind of cool?
Yeah.
Yeah. There was no effect. Some were fast, some were slow, but there was no effect as far as video game playing. So, and that's right. That's the thing that we did expect.
So to light your stage light, when the orange one flash, let go. And then the next one's going to count toward your eliminator, okay?
And so hold the button?
Yep, push it and hold it. When the big lights flash, release it.
Whoa.
Very good. Okay.